All right, let's jump right in. We're about to unpack a really pivotal, chaotic, and just fascinating period in Indian history.
So what happens? Well, it creates this huge power vacuum, right? Old loyalties just evaporate, and new ambitions, they pop up everywhere, completely redrawing the map.
So let's set the scene. We're around 550 AD, and the mighty Gupta Empire. These guys had controlled huge parts of India for centuries. It starts to just collapse. And the crazy part? It was collapsing from the inside out.
So as that central Gupta power just faded away, all these subordinate rulers, the ones who were supposed to be loyal, they saw their big chance. Families like the Pushyabhutis and the Malkaris basically said, "We're out," and declared independence. Suddenly, the once mighty empire shatters into this dangerous, messy patchwork of competing little kingdoms.
Now, out of all that chaos in the north, one dynasty, the Pushyabhutis, starts to climb to the top. But their greatest ruler, a guy named Harsha, his rise to power, wow, it's a story straight out of a drama, filled with family tragedy.
This is where it gets absolutely wild. You have this one political marriage, right? Just a strategic alliance. But it kicks off this insane domino effect of betrayal and murder. First, the new brother-in-law gets assassinated. So Harsha's older brother marches out for revenge, only to get lured into a trap and murdered himself. And just like that, a teenage Harshavardhana is thrust onto the throne with this immense weight of avenging his entire family on his shoulders.
And you know what? He did it. Harsha didn't just get his revenge, he went on to build this huge empire across the north. And he was super smart about it. He saw that the old capital, Pataliputra, was kind of yesterday's news. He recognized that the real prize, the key to dominating the future, was this city called Kannauj. It was perfectly placed, fertile, it was the new center of gravity. Okay, so that's the story in the north. But hold on, because the north wasn't the only place where things were heating up. At the exact same time, a totally separate power struggle was absolutely exploding across the Deccan Plateau and the south. A whole new set of players were entering the game.
And you see a similar pattern here, right? Just like with the Guptas in the north, a major power in the Deccan, the Vakatakas, starts to fade away. And what does that create? Exactly, another power vacuum. And stepping right into that gap were the Chalukyas, this ambitious, formidable new dynasty. They were in the perfect place at the perfect time.
So, in the south, you've got a few key players on the board. You have the aggressive newcomers, the Chalukyas, then there's the established Pallava dynasty. And for a while, there was this mysterious group, the Kalabras, who kind of shook things up. But the Pallavas took care of them, which really just cleared the board for the main event, a monumental, head-on clash with their biggest rivals, the Chalukyas.
So you've got these major powers consolidating in the north and the south. You know what that means, right? They were on a collision course. It was pretty much inevitable.
And this set the stage for a true clash of titans. We're talking about the two most powerful rulers in India at the time, facing off. In one corner, you have Harshavardhana, the undisputed master of the north, and in the other, Pulakeshin II, the absolute powerhouse emperor of the Chalukyas in the Deccan.
Harsha's ambition was huge. He wanted a pan-Indian empire. He wanted to conquer the whole subcontinent. So he marches his massive army south, and the two forces meet at the Narmada River. This wasn't just a battle. This was the battle. Everything was on the line.
And how did it go? Well, we don't have to guess. This quote, from an inscription left by the winner, Pulakeshin himself, is just perfect. It's a bit poetic, but the message is clear. Harsha's confidence, his mirth, just melted away in fear as his elephants fell in battle. Bottom line, Pulakeshin handed Harsha a crushing defeat. Harsha's southern expansion was stopped dead in its tracks. The Narmada River became the line he could not cross.
So, Pulakeshin successfully defended his northern border. But that didn't mean he could rest easy. Not at all. His biggest, most persistent challenge was that generations-long war with his rivals to the south, the Pallavas. And this wasn't just politics, this was personal. It was bitter.
Okay, so round one of this rivalry, it goes to the Chalukyas. Pulakeshin scores a huge victory. He defeats the Pallava king, marches deep into their lands. It was a complete humiliation for the Pallavas.
But you can't count the Pallavas out. Oh no. The defeated king's son, a man named Narasimhavarman, comes back with a vengeance. And I mean a devastating counterattack. He doesn't just defeat the Chalukyan army. He finds and kills their greatest king, the legendary Pulakeshin II, in battle. Talk about turning the tables.
And to really rub it in, to commemorate this ultimate act of revenge, Narasimhavarman marches right into the Chalukyan capital city, Vatapi, and completely sacks it. He then takes on this incredible title, Vatapi Konda,
It literally means the conqueror of Vatapi. What a statement.
But even that wasn't the end of it. This rivalry just kept going, a brutal back and forth that defined Southern politics for decades. It was a long, bloody stalemate. And the real result? It just drained the strength from both of these great empires.
And here's the crucial point. All these constant, exhausting wars made the Chalukyas really vulnerable. But the final blow didn't come from their old rivals, the Pallavas. No, the biggest threat was actually growing from within their own empire.
It's a classic story, isn't it? The Chalukyan Empire, after all that fighting, wasn't brought down by their great enemy. Instead, they were overthrown by one of their own guys. A feudatory commander named Danti Durga rebelled, defeated the last Chalukya king, and on the ashes of their empire, he built something new and even more powerful, the mighty Rashtrakuta dynasty.
So let's take a step back and look at the new map of India. All that chaos that started with the fall of the Guptas has led to this. Up north, Harsha's empire fragments pretty quickly after he dies. Down south, the Pallavas are still a major force. But the big story, the new center of gravity, is in the Deccan. A new superpower has emerged, the Rashtrakutas, and they have their eyes on the ultimate prize.
That prize being the city of Kanajaj, the symbol of northern supremacy. So this new map, with this new superpower, it sets the stage perfectly for the next great conflict in Indian history, a massive three-way struggle for control of the entire subcontinent.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that a power vacuum is never really empty, is it? The fall of one empire doesn't create a void, it just creates opportunity. It fuels the ambitions of the next contender. It's a constant cycle.